Cinnamon,
Cinnamon.
episode 65. We are back with yet another episode, man. It's been a good couple of weeks, two-ish weeks there.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks.
My mind, a whole 4 quarters have passed.
Shut up,
since
sir.
We last recorded.
Shut up, sir.
Let me tell you, a quarter is 3 months of time.
I know, but in my head, my brain was like, "There's 4 quarters." Oh my God, I felt so dumb. Okay, so for those of you who are wondering, today, the day of this recording, it is the 1st of May, and I decided to share my top 20 films so far online. And my dumbass said that because it's the end of Q4. I have worked in sales. I have worked in industries in which you deal with the months in quarters and planning. I am so fuck dumb. Thank you, Daryl, for pointing it out when you noticed.
That's what I'm here for.
I am the dumb.
Now, you know what? These things happen. Everybody gets to be the dumb every once in a while.
My turn, yay!
As long as you're not the Twitter main character of the day, you're doing all right for yourself.
Man, do I try not to be. And it's getting hard out there because as we are approaching the release of Multiverse of Madness, there's some characters out there on Twitter. So if you're listening to this, hopefully you've been safe out there. Now, granted, before I saw the leak myself when it popped up, it had already been ruined by someone who was like, "Man, I got stuff ruined." And I was like, "That sucks." And then they told me what it was.
Exactly. And I messaged that person. And I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Delete that comment."
I wasn't saying to tell me. But, it's not, honestly, it's not the biggest thing. And the way that I was talking to Crystal about this, everything that we've seen in the trailers, and there have been some press that have watched the first 30 minutes. If they're showing the first 30, and we've learned by now with Marvel that they're not going to give you everything in the trailers, there's usually misdirect. My guess is that whatever is leaking is probably within those first 30 minutes.
See, for me, that was a big thing that got leaked. So that's makes me a little
surprised to see Tobey Maguire.
I was surprised.
He's been talking about it for like ages.
I was surprised to see Tobey Maguire dressed up as Tom Cruise's Iron Man. It was weird. Acting, brilliant. Yeah, but speaking of all the multiverse nonsense and hopping through alternate realities, today's episode we're going to be talking about, man, all sorts of favorite alternate reality movies. But before we get there, as is the usual, man, we got to talk about some shit we've seen since we last talked to each other. So as always, Mr. Davidson, would you like to go first with your selection of movies?
I will. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 films that I'm going to briefly discuss.
Briefly,
3 of them.
We'll see.
You keep drinking. Now, 3 films I saw during the San Francisco International Film Festival. As of now, it is over. It was a documentary, I Didn't See You There, by director Reed Davenport. There was the documentary / comedy hybrid Sell by Date by Sarah Jones. And then there's the drama Over Under by Sophia Silver. Each of these 3 films are very, very different in what they approach. Reviews are available in full, spoiler-free at Elements of Madness. But I did want to mention them for folks that might be interested. The first, I Didn't See You There, is, as I said, a straight documentary. Reed Davenport is a man with a disability, and his film, this one in particular, is his first feature-length movie. He's done some other films. With this one, he primarily has the camera placed somewhere on his person or his equipment. And so you just sort of see the world as he sees it. You don't see him. You hear him. You see parts of him from time to time. But this film is really an experimental type movie that shows not only how he engages with the world, but the way that the world engages with him. And there's sort of a through line narrative of a circus that comes to town and his feelings as an individual with disabilities and the just reputation of the freak show. So he sort of discusses that from a historical perspective while we are getting aspects of his life. Anyone that would be interested in this, I highly recommend be careful if you suffer from motion sickness. Thankfully, I was watching it at home. I hit pause on it, was able to go grab some Tylenol, come back. Because when I say it's experimental, we're talking like he's the cinematographer and the director. There's not much interest in a steady camera. So there are moments where it is quite shaky, but from beginning to end, there's a very interesting story being told, and it is one worth hearing. Similarly, Sell by Date, as in like your sell by date, by Sarah Jones. It was inspired or was originally a one-person show that she was doing off Broadway. She made a movie using that same premise of her and 4 characters that she plays that are representative of people that she knows. And this film explores sex work, both whether or not it should be legalized or whether or not it should be or it shouldn't be, but looking at it from the perspective of people in the life who are in support of decriminalization and those that recognize decriminalization would actually create even more problems. So it's sort of fascinating how they approach it. Again, it is a docudrama / comedy. So while it is a documentary, there are interviews, you are dealing with real people. There is sort of a fictional narrative that runs through it that tries to lighten some of the aspects. Then there is Over Under by Sophia Silver. This one is just a straight coming of age adolescent story. It follows 2 girls from ages 9 to 13. They are 2 friends whose families met when they went to summer in New England. And then after the summer, they go back to their respective cities, one in LA, one in San Diego. And so it sort of follows them meeting. When we meet them, they're 9, playing in the ocean and doing whatever stuff girls do. But then we see them going back to school and seeing the differences that they're having in terms of how they get along with their friends, how puberty is responding in them, if at all, the social dynamics that are going on there. And again, it follows from 9 to 13. It is a lovely, lovely little story. And while I certainly can't identify with the feminine experience of adolescence, there were aspects that certainly connected with me. And so I would recommend that. The last 2 films, one of them is available digitally now, called Friend of the World by Brian Patrick Butler. It is a 15-minute, primarily black and white movie being distributed by Troma Entertainment.
Good old Troma.
So it's some weird shit.
Yep.
It is broad scope, Lynchian and Cronenbergian.
Ugh. Rough.
So it's surreal, it's absurd, and it's basically a 2-hander between 2 individuals who find themselves trying to survive a nuclear war in which they might be the only regular humans left alive. There's a lot of paranoia, there's a lot of uncertainty, it's weird as shit, and if you're in the mood for weird as shit, go check that out. Last but not least, in select theaters now from G Kids is Pompo the Cinephile. Yeah. This film, directed by Takayuka Hiro, if I've got that right. It, I think, had some festival stuff in last year. It is now available now. If you are a cinephile of any kind, just go check this film out. It's adapted from a manga, which I'm not familiar with, but this film, it's about 90 minutes long, and it is the kind of movie that if you love making movies, you will love this film. There's the old adage, I forget who said it, but a movie is made 3 times, in the writing, in the editing, the writing, the direction, and in the editing. And you see that reflected in this movie, top to bottom. It is an adorable little film. It is a sweet little film, and I can't recommend it enough. So those are my 5.
Boom. Done and done. Done in
Tried to keep it quick.
Did a grand job there, sir. Grand job.
Yeah. We can hear the sarcasm.
I got 2 that I want to talk about. Most of my time lately has been filled with
secrets.
Watching, well, secrets. Yeah. Doing a little bit of watching, prepping yet again for another 100 list. So I've been watching some old action movies I've never seen before. First time watching Transporter, man. First time watching Dirty Harry, which is not what I thought it was going to be about.
I've actually never seen Dirty Harry, but the Transporter, yay.
I always figured Dirty Harry, just the title would be like Crooked Cop Dirty Harry, and it's not that at all. No. I was pleasantly surprised to see that that's not what it was all about, and especially from that time frame that movie came out, you would kind of think that that's the bend they would take, but no, it's about, you know, the cop who's willing to get dirty to do what's
Do you
quote
feel
unquote
lucky?
right. Well,
Punk.
do you, punk? Yeah,
I've
but
seen parts. I've never seen it in full.
pretty damn good. I mean, it's not going to make the list because it's more procedural than it is actiony, but it is it's pretty good, man. Check that out if you haven't got a chance. I watched a documentary, which is unusually out of my wheelhouse, on Netflix called Iron Fists and Kung Fu Kicks. You heard of this, Doug?
Ooh, no, I have not.
Yeah, man. It's directed by Serge OU, and it's all about the history of martial arts movies. You know, it starts at the beginning of how it got it starts cribbing from like ballet and Peking opera, and how they, you know, added swords to that, added conflict to the stories, and through conflict resolution with the sword fighting, and then, you know, other weapons eventually came in, and the rise of Shaw Brothers, you know, one of the greatest studios of all time when it comes to martial arts, Run Shaw and all those cats. And just how it transitioned from weapons to fists, and how Golden Harvest comes up in the game, you know, as a competitor for Shaw Brothers, and you know how they're willing to up the violence a little bit, and then all of that, and how it comes over to us in the West, and how it impacts culture over here, you know, in New York, and on 42nd, the greatest street in all of Manhattan, and just how it impacts there, and the ripple effects. It talks about Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, a couple other people. I don't know where I got Bruce Wayne from there for a second. And then it's intercut with people who are synonymous with the kung fu genre, or martial arts, I should say, genre. Michael Jai White is in there. Scott Adkins is in there. Jessica Henwick, of course, plays Colleen Wing in Iron Fist. She's in there. The villain from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, she's in there. I didn't know she was the first woman of a kung fu flick. I guess so they're paying homage back to her when they cast her in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So yeah, it's just good. The editing is absolutely chaotic nonsense. So if you're a person with ADD, you're gonna love it because it skips around all over the place. But yeah, if you're a lover of martial arts movies, man, I think it's gonna be a joint that's right up the alley for everybody. And if you're not, then you might gain a little interest from it.
Real quick, first of all, just because I found it, I went and jumped on Netflix, and if I'm not mistaken, the image that popped up was from Come Drink With Me, which was recently released as a restoration on Arrow, and I talked about it on a previous episode.
Yes, you did.
But by any chance, because I haven't watched Crouching Tiger in forever, so I don't really remember much, is Jade Fox the bad guy? Is that the villain you were talking about? Yeah, Cheng Pei Pei, who played Jade Fox, she's the lead in Come Drink With Me, which was that early Shaw Brothers movie, which is considered more or less not the inspiration for, but what Crouching Tiger is going back to represent, or to refer to, was Come Drink With Me.
And they talk about Come Drink With Me for a good couple of minutes throughout the documentary. As one of the early inspirations for what came after.
If you want to see Come Drink With Me, let me know. I'll bring the disc with me tomorrow.
I'm already bringing you presents. I have other things that I will be requesting that you let me lend, if possible, tomorrow. Talk about that off air. I don't want to watch them, but I gotta watch them. Also, I saw The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, man.
Massive Talent.
Yeah, Massive Talent, man. Directed by a cat I've never heard of before, Tom Gormican. Dude doesn't even have his own Wikipedia page. How sad is that?
Neither do I.
I don't know if it's his first movie or his 100th. Who knows? I mean, we all know what it is. It's you know, that super meta Nick Cage playing a version of himself, as he, you know, kind of playing on that Nick Cage will do anything for a quick buck, kind of playing up that broke element as he spends time with this somewhat seedy figure Javi, played by, you know, everyone's favorite right now, Pedro Pascal. That man has done no wrong since 2012-ish. And yeah, it's a great action comedy. And like most of these, they get the comedy out of the way first before things turn my number one beef with dramedies is that first act is where all the jokes are. And then when that turn happens in the second act, all the jokes kind of disappear. Things turn more drama. You get a little bit of, well, a lot bit of that here. They get their funniness out the way first, and then when that second act turns, it kind of takes a turn for the more serious. But still, a massive chemistry between the two of them. Fun all throughout this movie. It's one that I would recommend to anyone who's a fan of the silliness. If you're a fan of Nick Cage, man, if you want to get yes, you too, Doug, you are definitely that. If you want to get super meta with it, man, and if you want to play the spot the Cage references all throughout, you can do that as well. It's definitely,
if the home release doesn't have some bullshit like that,
they would be sorely missing out on an opportunity to have something like that, of like a VH1 pop-up video style.
Yes.
Bing, this is from this, and this is from this. And if not, then as always, of course, there's probably a million YouTube videos out there that are more than happy to award their superiority over you as they point out all the things that you missed. So yeah, great movie, still in theaters. I fear for it as Doctor Strange shows up soon and starts wiping things out. That's why I need to go see that memory before Doctor Strange wipes it out of the theaters. But that's it. Those are the two I have. And my review is running up on Paprika right now for that business.
I gotta say, the one missed opportunity, and from what I understand about Massive Talent, is that the film was written with Nick Cage in mind.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a missed opportunity not to seek John Travolta to do it first. Because if you have John Travolta do it's just playing Nick Cage, just like it's a whole other level.
So apparently it took 3 times. He kept pestering Nick. He kept saying, no, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to do this. And sat down and just wrote him apparently this wonderful letter as to why I think you should do this movie. Gave him the letter. Nick Cage read it, and he was like, all right, I'm going to do this movie now. And yeah, man, it's good. It's good, sweet movie.
Right on.
All right, man. I think that, yeah, making some moves here. You ready to get into the business at hand, sir?
Let's do it.
Let us do it. Today, like I said earlier, we're talking about the top 3 alternate reality movies. I did 0 research for this.
Yep.
And by that, I mean, when you threw this out after our last recording, I had my 3 before we were finished talking for that evening.
I did not.
Yeah,
I did not.
I was like, oh yes, this, and this. And I was like, I refuse to go research anything else. I'm strong in my convictions in these 3 movies.
And there's doing some research of my own. There was a couple where I was like, I would be shocked if he didn't mention this one. I'd be shocked if he didn't mention that one. Because with alternate reality, you can really go in a lot of different directions, but it's generally, it's a world like ours that is not ours. And when you do research on alternate reality and you try to find some examples, it's everything from the obvious, like Dark City and Her, to the less obvious, The Bad Guys that just came out, where, you've got anthropomorphic animals walking around with humans, walking around with regular animals. It's Team America World Police, or even America, the Motion Picture. There are alternate realities. It's Watchmen, where you've got Nixon, who's been in office multiple times, and
Robert Redford afterwards.
And it's Southland Tales, it's Coherence, it's Tron Legacy, it's The One. So you've got all kinds. Apparently Daryl just clicked with something. Do you need to add The One to your action movie list? I need to rewatch the movie.
No, sir. That's definitely on the list and already ranked.
Nice. I need to rewatch it. I loved that little thing in Jet Li's career where he was sort of working with some of the same people, even in different roles. Because there was Jason Statham. He worked with a couple of times. He did War with him. Delroy Lindo. He did The One, and he did Kiss of the Dragon. That's so right. Like there was this period where he just kept showing up, and of course, that movie he did with DMX.
Cradle to the Grave.
Cradle to the Grave. Fucking love that movie. and not just because Tom Arnold shows up with a goddamn tank and Mark Dacascos gets to beat the shit out of some people. But anytime you get Jet Li show up and he doesn't take his hand out of his pocket and he's fighting you with one hand, you're fucked.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, man.
God. I to this day mourn as a fan, Jet Li's health issues because I loved him on screen. But at least he got to do another film with Mulan, so there was at least that. Anyway, so with an alternate reality, he would be the one, and he would still be making movies.
In an alternate reality, he would have got a lot more respect than
yes.
I think he ended up getting.
Yeah, I mean, my introduction to him was with Lethal Weapon 4, and learning about him as a performer as I got older. He never should have been beaten. Like, you watch the movie and you're going, oh, okay, they got it. They're the heroes and they've got to figure out some way. No. Jet Li would never be taken out by Riggs and Murtaugh. Fuck
those
that.
Clowns. No.
No.
Makes
in an alternate reality that happened.
Well done, sir. Well done. All right. You already did your traditional listing of movies. I will go first with my bit of business to see if what you suspect is on my list is on my list. One of them you've already mentioned, so I'll go ahead and kick that off right now. I just bumped something else for that movie. I just bumped Everything Everywhere All at Once for Coherence. Man, I fucking love this movie. Love Coherence. 2013. Wikipedia describes it as a surreal science fiction psychological thriller. A lot of words to say fucking dope. Directed by James Ward Burkett. And it's part of the reason why I love this movie so much is the movie making process. When you know the behind the scenes of what went down on Coherence, it is batshit insane. Really? Dude, the house that they are in is his house. They just filmed it in his house with no script. He pretty much had plot points in mind, and he would pull aside everybody in turn and say, you are here, I need you to get to here by this point. And then, he had a couple of prompts along the way, and he just let them figure it out from there. This is a movie of this complication built on trust between the actors themselves and trust between them and the director. If you're unfamiliar with what Coherence is, a comet is passing over the sky at the night of a dinner party with some old friends reuniting. And they hear about, some weird things when this comet passes by. And then some of those weird things start happening. All the power goes out in the house and in the neighborhood, actually. And they start trying to figure what's going on. And as they kind of leave one by one to investigate, who comes back might not be the person from their dimension.
So weird.
It's so weird. It's so heady. It's so mind-fucking. And it's wonderfully shot. It's wonderfully paced. Man, this is 89 minutes, and there's not an ounce of fat on this 89 minutes. You need every bit of this. And the ending is something you don't suspect, man. Great movie. And the characters themselves. There's all sorts of little hints and clues. This is a movie that deserves rewatch, is the best way of putting it. All sorts of hints and clues drop throughout that shit has gone sideways long before you realize shit has gone sideways.
I need to rewatch it because I don't remember the ending. I remember who's in it. I remember what happens. I don't remember how it ends.
Good movie. I watched it for the sci-fi list, and I was like, this sounds interesting. And I got somewhere about the halfway mark, and I realized that I watched it for Saturday Night Sci-Fi, and I was really drunk a couple years back. And I was like, oh, yeah, this movie is pretty fucking dope. And it remains dope. So number one on my alternate reality list, Coherence. What you got?
There you go. And for those of you that have seen it and weren't aware, it did get a physical release.
I was just wondering that. Like, this has got to be somewhere. Someone's got it.
Within the last year or two, I forget if it was Vinegar Syndrome or somebody else, but I'm pretty sure it was a boutique spot. Could be Kino Lober. I forget. I can look it up. For anybody who's interested. I forget who picked it up.
Man, Kino got me. They got me for $10 the other day. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna buy this movie during the Kino sale. And I didn't realize that those particular two movies that I bought were just digital only.
Oh.
So now I just got these two movies floating around in this Kino account that I made that I had no intention of making. So yeah.
I gladly handed them about $30 of my own money, or at least I have $30 of my own money sitting in limbo, waiting to go to them, as I have pre-ordered Out of Sight in 4K because I fucking love that movie.
Right on.
And it was part of the Kino Lover sale. So I was like, we'll save some money.
Yeah, my dumbass, man. I thought I was getting 2 physicals.
What'd you get? What'd you get though?
In
an alternate reality, what physical discs did you think you were getting?
I can't remember the titles because they were 2 blind buys. I was like, I've never heard of this before, but it sounds interesting. So it's not like
man, they took me for money and I don't even remember what I bought.
Yeah, don't remember. I gotta log in and look, man. It's not like it was something I was like,
$10. Next time, just send me $10. I'll
Hey, to the order of Doug Lorber.
You got a Movies Anywhere account now. I can screen pass you something from time to time. It'll be just like you paid for it. You fucking forget.
What is the first on your list there, sir?
All right. This was going to be the first one I was planning to mention anyway, but it's perfect now to mention along with Coherence. This was my introduction to the writing, acting, directing, producer duo that is Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson. This is the 2017 The Endless. This was my ever since The Endless, anytime I've seen their names pop up, whether it's their project that they're acting in, their project that they've written or directed, or something like Moon Knight, I've been interested in what happened. Are you okay? You appear to have lost something.
No, this beer came out as mostly foam, and I'm sad about it. Yeah, when I heard Benson and Moorhead attached to Moon Knight, I was like, oh, absolutely. It just makes sense. Yeah, I watch Endless for the sci-fi list.
Yeah. It's a wild fuck movie.
It's the way it is. That's on the back of the DVD. A wild fuck movie.
It really should be. It's kind of like Coherence, where it says this shit is dope. Like,
I wish we could
have. Doesn't tell you anything, but it tells you enough.
True pull quotes.
We've talked about The Endless before, but just for safety, the general premise is that there are 2 brothers that were part of a cult. They left and have trouble acclimating to regular life. And after they receive a mysterious message from the cult, they return to go check things out. The thing is, everybody there is the exact same as when they left years ago. They are literally the same. And while they're there, weird shit starts happening. Now, what I didn't know until after watching The Endless is that this film is sort of a spin-off from their first film. I think it was called was it their first film, Resolution? And then I think the second one was
their first film, but it was the film that they had done prior to that.
Yes.
It's got the when they go to the guys in the trailer.
Yes.
The Endless is those.
Yeah, in The Endless, you meet a couple of people that, without spoiling anything, are the exact same characters from this previous film. So you sort of get to, I guess, see what has happened. I picked up Spring and Resolution this year after seeing Something in the Dirt, and I still haven't watched them. I need to make time to do that. But I've loved The Endless. I have loved Synchronic, and
I love Synchronic.
Something in the Dirt is currently my number 1 film of the year. That premiered at Sundance. It is getting a theatrical release later in 2022, from what I understand. Don't miss that. But if you haven't seen The Endless, just go check it out. It is available in physical formats and digital formats. Can't recommend it enough. It's weird, it's wild, and it goes places that get dark, but in a really precise comedic way. It would not work otherwise.
I think I prefer the Synchronic just a little bit more than Endless, but both are definitely good watches.
I know I've watched Synchronic, whereas I've watched The Endless and want to go back to watch it. Synchronic, I know I've watched at least twice. And it's a good film, and it works. That's another film that sort of deals with similar issues that The Endless does, though in a bigger sense, versus the contained portion of The Endless. And honestly, after watching Something in the Dirt, I can't help but wonder if there's a bigger Arcadia connection with all of these stories that one day, sort of like the Kevin Smith View Askew universe, we will discover. But for right now, I'm happy with my theories.
I went from being somewhat interested to Something in the Dirt to being very interested.
There is literally, and this isn't a spoiler, in the sense of critical to the narrative. But in Something in the Dirt, one of the characters is going for a walk, and you see a banner for I think it's the Arcadia, and I forget if it's a direct reference to the camp, the Arcadia, where the cult is located, because it's been months since I've seen it, or if it's just, a quirky little reference. But if the Arcadia exists in Something in the Dirt, then it does create a connective point between the Endless and here. And I'm sort of hoping with a home release, they did bonus features for Synchronic, that they would do some of that as well with Something in the Dirt. Maybe they'd provide an explanation.
Yeah, I would be happy if it's the kind of tenuous link like View Askew, where you don't need to see one to see the other. It's for the people who are very keen and they're watching. This kind of,
Absolutely. Kind of like how you don't need to know that Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back literally happens after the end of Dogma, because Dogma, Jay and Bob are like, let's go to the quick stop. They do, and then shit happens when they get there that kicks off Jay and Bob. Or all the references to like Walt Flanagan's dog in one movie, but they're a character that gets referenced in a different one, or someone dated somebody else, or there was a funeral and we heard about it here. It actually took place over there. It's just a shared universe, yes, where you don't need to know them, but if you do see the connection, it just makes it more lived in.
Yeah, there's levels to it. That bastard's faster than Walt Flanagan's dog. My number 2 is a movie that I've talked about extensively on my time in Paprika.
Then you should shut the fuck. No, keep talking.
2009 joint, man. You were talking about alternate reality movies as in differences from our reality. I would also extend that to differences from the reality that's already been pre-established in the movie itself. And in which case 2009 Star Trek fits that narrative as an alternate reality movie.
It technically is. They create an entirely new timeline.
Yeah, thanks to that dick Eric Bana and his Romulans dropping the red matter and sending in things back in the time, man, to a time
Spock!
where
Spock!
for everything. Back to a time where different paths diverge, but they still reconverge to create the same crew that we know and love. Alternate versions of the characters we love as played by new actors.
I apologize. It just dawned on me that the way that I was saying Spock, it sounded like Nick Cage as Bana. Spock! I'm a sexy cat. Sorry. Those of you that have watched Community.
Yeah, I mean, Star Trek is, we know what it is. It's a lot of people have some issues with the JJ Star Trek. People think Star Trek is a philosophy show with a veneer of sci-fi over it. That's kind of how it started out. Using, like I say all the time, science fiction as a somewhat mirror to real world issues, like the Klingons with the colors on the different sides of their head and all that kind of good stuff. And JJ's Star Trek got away from that. It went more action oriented, and that rankled a lot of people. Not me, because if you already had fucking decades of the philosophical Star Trek already, go back and watch that shit. All right, it's good to break from your norms every once in a while. Just like there's episodes of the original series that are just straight action. That's why I had no problems with JJ Star Trek, and it is a rip roaring fun as fuck ride from beginning to end. One of, I think, the best casted movies of all time. There is not a weak link, with the exception of Eric Bana. And honestly, it's reminiscent of a Phase 1 Marvel movie where it's like it's all about the heroes and the villains are just kind of there. And that's Eric Bana's case in 2009 Star Trek. Thankfully, we're finally getting the 4th movie. Who knows when it's coming out or what it's going to be about? But that first movie, man, it's you could wake me up at 3:00 in the morning and be like, you want to watch Star Trek? I'd be like, just give me 10 minutes, get my beer, and we're gonna be off to the races, man. I fucking love that movie. I will always love that movie. And side note, the riff tracks for that movie is one of the best riff tracks I've ever heard.
Interesting.
Yes, hilarious. So yeah, second one, 2009 Star Trek.
I would say my biggest problem with JJ and his Star Trek films, of which he only did the 2 so far, is that everybody knew Cumberbatch was Khan. Everybody fucking knew. And to deny that the whole time was bullshit, particularly because, and that actually was a big problem with 2 in the way that Into Darkness plays, is that him being Khan means something to the audience, but it means dick to the characters.
To the characters.
So there's all of these moments that are supposed to be emotional, but they're playing on the intertextuality of the movies themselves. It's playing off of the pre-existing relationship. It means dick in this universe. So it doesn't have the weight that it should. So that's my problem there. But I will never forget the first time that I watched Star Trek, if only because we went, Crystal and I, to the Annapolis movie theater.
I've been there. I was there a couple weeks ago.
Oh, right on. Good movie theater. And we went to that one. We've been to the Bowie Town Center one, and then there's the one that Anne Arundel with that had like the Egyptian the
cinema
thing for some reason. Anyway,
I will be there in a couple weeks.
No, there you go. Good movie theaters all around. They at least when we went there almost 15 years ago. But we had just gotten our new car, this Nissan Sentra that we used to own. It was so quiet. I apparently got distracted, forgot to turn it off. We left it running the whole time we were in the theater. We are lucky nobody left with it.
You were very lucky. You were incredible. You had the luck of the Kirks about you.
Yeah, the 2 of us were like, did we leave the car fucking on? Like, because it was keyless entry, so you just needed it in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And so we weren't used to it. So we've never forgotten Star Trek. Oh, this movie, we almost destroyed the brand new car. Fuck.
Yeah, man. Fun movie. Saw the movie 3 times the first day it came out. Wow. In 2 different states.
Wow.
I saw the midnight showing here in Charlotte back when I was living in Maryland. Mm-hmm. Left the midnight showing, got in my car, drove back to Maryland, had the day off, went and watched a matinee that Friday, and then all my friends got off work and they're like, we're going to see Star Trek at like 7:30, and I was like, sign me right the fuck up. Knocked right out about halfway through that movie. Been up for some time at that point, but yeah, I will forever stump for this movie and love this movie. And yeah, the issues that you have in the darkness, the flipping of the Kirk and Spock dying, and then trying to play it emotional when these cats have known each other for a couple of years. Maybe they don't have the decades of history that Shatner and Nimoy's Kirk had. Doesn't make any sense. What's your second movie?
My second movie, sort of playing off the idea of we're going to take something we know and make something new out of it, is a movie that kind of like Pompo, also released by G Kids, was in some festival screenings back in 2021, but didn't get a proper theatrical release until January of this year. It is one of my favorite films of 2021. It was, I think, my number 6 movie of the year, only beat out in animation by Mitchells versus Machines for me. It is the film Belle by Mamoru Hosoda. For those of you that aren't aware of it, it's a film in which a young girl, high schooler by the name of Suzu, she has some trauma in her life due to her mother dying at a very young age. She went to go save a girl that was going to drown and ended up saving the girl, but drowning herself in the process. And she had a connection with her mom through music and singing. She has lost her voice. Well, in this world that Suzu lives in, there is a digital space called You. You plug in through earpieces, and it connects to the app, and it traces your biometrics, gives you an avatar, and you go into the digital space. So everything you see, your movements, it's all there. If you get hurt in the real world, your avatar reflects that injury. So like she falls and hits her head at one point, and her avatar, Belle, has a bit of a bump on her forehead. This movie is fucking exquisite. You think it's inspired by Beauty and the Beast, which it kind of is, but it's not a love story in that regard. It is a love story about trauma and grief and how we deal with that, how we move forward. and I have now seen it 3 times. I have cried every goddamn time. It is coming available on digital on May 3rd. It is coming out on home video on the 17th of May. I just rewatched it a couple of days ago. So part of this is recency bias, but at the same time, since I saw it in November, I have not stopped thinking about it. It is fucking wonderful. And the world of you that Asada has created is it's sort of this utopia in the sense that where now anonymity is sort of frowned upon because you can get away with a lot of shit and not have any responsibility for it. Whereas in the world of you, the idea isn't that you are anonymous, you are tied to yourself. The biometrics make it so that you can't make different profiles. There is weight to your actions, but what you do in you is intended to be your true self. So people are encouraged to be whatever they want, look however they want, dress however they want. But instead of looking like this Second Life metaverse bullshit, there's actual weight and beauty and art and things there. So it is truly wonderful. And honestly, if you guys haven't seen it, highly recommend it. The music is wonderful, whether it's in the original Japanese or from the English language cast. It is absolutely fantastic. Cannot recommend it enough. And it just moves me to my core, which is kind of strange, but it does.
There you go, man. There you go. The hell. Yeah, I heard people talking about it on Twitter, and I haven't checked it out. Watch it. Watch it. No, put it on the list. Put it on my watch list since I have my Letterboxd up. All right, my final pick, man. A movie again.
I hope it's a movie.
Fringe. No.
It's on the fringes? Really?
Movie that's come up a million times already for a million different reasons on the Cinnamon Man. And I will always try to find a way to distort into that. Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. 2018, man. Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, Rodney Rothman. We know what Spider-Verse is, man. It is the first foray of the second Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales, after he takes over after the death of Peter Parker, the original Ultimate Spider-Man from the Ultimate Universe, and the adventures that he gets into with the other spider-powered folk from other dimensions, whether that be Noir, Gwen, Peter Parker, and all those guys that come on with the anime Spider-Man. It's
I just washed my hands. No other reason.
It is the thought and care that went into this movie. And I don't mean just like, hey, this is a beautiful looking movie, but just the nuance that's put into this movie is absolutely astounding. It took me forever to pick up on the fact that Catherine Hahn is Doc Ock. I love every bit of that. I think Haley Steinfeld's doing great work as Gwen. I think Shamik Moore, for all of his problems, is a great Miles Morales. I like the fact that they acknowledge both his African American side and his Puerto Rican side as well throughout the movie. It's just a great, fun, I guess you could call it origin / coming of age movie.
Yes.
And
although he is a man.
And even just like
we quote that movie a lot in this house.
It's a great movie. It's a movie we're quoting. A great bond between a father that's willing to unabashedly show love to his son is also a great thing that's seen throughout this movie as well. So
that's a copy.
There's so much good shit in this movie. No, you're good. There's so many great quotes that come out of this movie. It is to date best thing that Sony has done by themselves when it comes to the Spider universe, I think. And yeah. I am except for that fucking toast shaped Kingpin, I am crushed that we don't get our second installment this year, and that's been pushed back to like June or something like that. So
yeah,
they made it a summer blockbuster. So they might have something. They might think they have something on their hands, but
they did before it won an Oscar.
That's true.
God, it released in December. Just give it to us in October.
I would like to know what the reasoning is behind this. Maybe they just want to touch up some things, or the case may be.
the very sincere reason that I've been hearing around, and again, I want to reiterate, sincere reason. There have been a lot of delays and pushbacks with a lot of different things in various industries due to COVID. And one of them, for example, I've heard of home release issues because there are backups with the ability to reproduce. The reproduction systems are running out of materials and they can't get them sent where they need. The materials to create cases for some Blu-rays and DVDs, some of that material was needed to create the vaccine. So the PG Psycho Gorman home release got delayed because they literally, the place that was making the cases couldn't. And so from what I've been hearing with this film and a number of other animated films that have been pushed, is that the studios that work or share on multiple projects have a backlog. So wherever they send their material to work on it, there's a delay. So it's not just Spider-Verse. There have been others that have been pushed, and part of it is this. So they may be able to use that time to better tighten up what they're doing between it's Through the Spider-Verse and now Beyond the Spider-Verse is part 2, correct?
No, it's Across the Spider-Verse.
Across the Spider-Verse and then Beyond. Yeah. Thank you. So my guess is while they could use that time to tighten or improve or tweak whatever it is that they want to do, that it's mostly just there's this backlog that needs to be dealt with.
All right. Well, there you go. Yeah. We will get it when we get it.
Give it to me fucking now.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays against all the summer films. I have a feeling it's still gonna do gangbusters.
Oh, it's gonna dominate. I have no doubt in my mind that this film, I don't care what you put it up against. Will people have to decide, do I want to see this first versus this one? Yes, they will have to make that decision. Money is tight, depending on when it comes out and how the world's doing. Some people may still not be comfortable going to theaters. But if you told me that I had to decide between Spider-Man and the next Marvel movie, Spider-Man and Batman 2, Spider-Man and pick like your big art house, whatever, doesn't Park Chan-wook have a new movie coming out?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
That's this year.
No, doesn't matter. Fuck all them. I want to see Spider-Verse. And not just because I have an affinity for Miguel O'Hara, who is going to have a bigger role in this movie. So I can't wait to see that. But people are going, I think that movie, people still love Spider-Verse, the first.
Yeah, it's got a good, for now, window. Nothing. Fast X is 2 weeks before. The Little Mermaid's not gonna.
Fast 10.
Fast. I'm
not
sorry.
X. It's not Fast X. It's Fast 10.
Fast X 10. Is 2 weeks before it, and then June is June's got the Flash, but Indiana Jones. We'll see. They might as well drop the Flash on CW at this point. It's man. There's nothing around it, man. It's gonna do.
Doesn't matter. It's gonna fucking kill. There's plenty of time for anybody to put anything in that release, and I feel bad for anything. Doesn't matter if it's a VOD release, if it's in theaters, if it's whatever. Like everybody would be smart to just not release anything that week against it.
Yeah,
even for counter programming. No, just don't do it. Guardians
will have been out for a month, so it'll be winding its time down. Yeah, it's gonna be gangbusters. The next biggest film isn't until Mission Impossible, like a month and a half later. Interesting. Whoa.
And normally I don't get into this kind of prospecting, but I just feel so strongly about Spider-Verse. I have a hard time seeing anything where it does get a proper release and people are comfortable going to the theaters where it doesn't dominate. I would be shocked because of the love for the first one.
Right on. I can't wait to see that. And while I'm here on this Wikipedia page, let me get your input, even though I know you're not a big fan of this kind of prospecting. What? July 21st, we have a clash of some weird titans with Oppenheimer and Barbie. What's what the Which
Okay.
one is Douglas Davidson buying a ticket to first, and why Barbie?
You know me too fucking well. Because honestly, I'd like to have a good time.
Yeah.
Honestly, just no bullshit. Oppenheimer, it's Christopher Nolan, so it's going to be, and it's based on a real events, so it's going to be serious. It's got everybody in it except for I think you and I think we're the only two people.
Everybody except the cast of Barbie.
Yeah, because they're already booked. So it's us and them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's fine. I like Christopher Nolan, but there is not a single director that I'm like die hard. I don't go online and, F you guys, these people would never, such and such is the blueprint. Like, no, if they release a movie, I want to see it. But Barbie just looks and sounds like it'll be fun between Greta Gerwig and her directing, Margot Robbie as Barbie, and then this cast that they've put together for this movie. I just have a hard time, even if it's terrible, it'll hopefully still be fun terrible. Yeah. Although someone on TikTok, I didn't catch their name, so I apologize for this, was like, it would be wild. What if at the end of Barbie, she goes to school and gets her psychology degree and then walks to her first job at Arkham Asylum? What if it was like some WB backdoor Harley Quinn origin story where they call her Barbie, but her real name is Harleen?
I'm all
we find that out at the end. Hey, what's your name, kid? Robin. No.
Yeah, I was like, Greg Gerwig. Okay, yeah, I saw Little Women. I fucked with that movie heavily, so I'm down. Great. Margot Robbie. Okay, I'm down. And then the names started rolling in, and I'm like, there's something in that script where people are like, this shit's gonna rock. Anyways, what is your last movie here in alternate realities?
Well, amusingly, you went with Spider-Verse. I did not. I was actually surprised that you didn't bring up Inception. I would have figured that would have been on your list, or even The Matrix would have been on your list, which I was thinking about, particularly The Matrix, given how much I love that film and that series. But partially because of Belle and partially just looking at this list of alternate reality films, I felt compelled to think of the ones that touch me deeply, that resonate, that feel different in the way that they tell stories. And as much as these other films certainly have those qualities, 2016 Makoto Shinkai's Your Name, that movie, it fucking breaks me, and it comes out of goddamn nowhere. For those of you that aren't familiar, it's about two high schoolers. One lives in the rural areas of Japan. Another one actually lives in Tokyo, and they keep switching lives. And you keep hearing about a comet that is coming to town, and there's something about that comet that connects the two of them. And we don't really know what it is until the story really goes down deep. It is almost overwhelming, that surprise to see that connection. It is told so beautifully and so wonderfully and delicately. There's no other way to describe it than wonderful. It's unexpected and it is wonderful. And it's some of the most beautiful animation I have seen, perhaps outside of Spider-Verse, just in the way that it uses animation uniquely to tell its story, which if you're going to use it, pick your medium, whether it's live action, it's animation, stop motion, you should be using it for a reason. What is it about that form that enables you to tell the story to the best possible way? Your Name does that. While I was not a huge fan of Weathering with You, I found the ending to be a bit of a cheat that didn't work for me. I am still very excited about the next film that has been announced. Doesn't have a release date in the US, but I believe is November in Japan. But Your Name is just one of the most devastatingly beautiful films I have seen. And it's one of those movies that you hear about and you hear people talk about positively, and then you watch it and you go, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
So I still haven't bought it in 4K, but I'm waiting for a really good sale.
I am just happy to finally have Weathering with You in Blu-ray. I just need a time to sit down and rewatch that bit of nonsense. I will say, for the record, I don't feel Matrix is an alternate reality movie.
Is it because you're plugged in?
I'm always plugged in. I think it's less alternate and more you're just being fed lies about your real reality. I feel like they don't go to an alternate place. It's just a coat over what is their actual real life.
Well, when you think about Neo, Mr. Anderson first, Mr. Anderson thinks that it's the year 1999, when in fact it's more like 2059 or something to that effect. It's actually much later in the future, and his reality does not exist as he thinks it does. His reality is in fact altered from what he expects it to be. I would say in the similar way that 13th Floor, which is just layer upon layer of where is reality, it depends on which server you're on, if you will. Same way with Dark City, which, while it is an alien abduction story, is also a film about what you think your reality is, but when in fact it's something else. So I do see it from your perspective, but I think there's an argument there.
Okay.
So, which I just made. Which you
just made. All right, that wraps up the alternate reality business. We got to get to the Simmons challenges, man.
Yeah, and since yours actually dealt with some weird shit, you can go first, because I'm curious to hear, what you thought of yours.
I had you gave me Colossal, 2016 sci-fi joint, directed by Nacho Vigalondo, the same cat who did Time Crimes. Jason Sudeikis and Hathaway up in there, Dan Stevens as well, and Tim Blake Nelson's always great to see. It's about a unemployed writer who unwittingly manifests a giant creature in Seoul, South Korea, while struggling with alcoholism. Boy, this movie takes a dark turn real quick, fast. A little bit. Great. It's great at leading you along that premise of, oh, here is your not knight in shining armor, but here is a guy that gets it. And he's kind of sweet and this, that, and the third. And oh boy. I don't know if I can ever watch Ted Lasso now.
It's no. It's totally different character. He's got an accent. It's great. You can totally watch it.
There you go. Man, this is some great Sudeikis work in this movie. Chilling all throughout. So basically, yeah, it's a woman who actually manifests a giant kaiju in Seoul, and the ramifications of that, and the surprise twists and turns that come along the way when more objects also show up there, and how that kind of ties back to her and how the whole thing plays out. And the conclusion of that is not what I was expecting. But still, this is a good movie. This is a great movie. I don't know if it would have made the list, but I'm glad that I got to watch it and check it out. That is it's a wild ride. I like Time Crimes better. It might just be the gritty indie nature of it, and the low budget and the inventiveness that comes with that low budget. But yeah, this is a well done story that does not gradually descend into a different genre. It takes the hardest left into a different genre.
And the thing is, really, you can see it coming. If you know, you'll see it coming.
Yeah, there's some breadcrumbs there for you.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Right on. Go ahead and check this one out if you got a chance. I think it's for all you listening out there, I think it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a very interesting look at addiction, toxic masculinity, reclamation of self, and a whole host of other pieces of trauma. And Neon put the sucker out, and it's very much a Neon joint.
Yeah, it's a Neon joint. I saw that logo pop up. I was like, ooh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, I unfortunately saw this by myself, and I left it going, whoo. This was well before I had access to like press kits and shit. So I was cobbling together my review and putting all sorts of stuff together. But it is just it's an incredible film if you've never seen it, with Anne Hathaway really putting in the work, and Sudeikis just, as you put it, you won't look at Ted Lasso the same way if you've watched Ted. But if you've never watched Ted, you should watch it. It's a very different performance. But this is the kind of performance from Sudeikis that shows you the man can fucking act.
Yes, he can. Yeah, and I gave you a wholly different film.
Yes, you did. And what's weird is the whole time I watched it, I kept being like, I've seen this movie. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Have I? Have I seen this movie? The answer is no, I hadn't. You gave me the 1967 film Le Samurai from Jean-Pierre Melville.
Right.
The film, easiest way to put it is our central character is a hitman professional hired to do a job, and something goes wrong, and he has to evade the police and other issues in order to get away with what has happened. Now, our main character, who Jeff Costello is his character's name, Alan de Leon, he's sort of a steely dude. Mm-hmm. He doesn't talk much, he doesn't emote much, he just sort of rolls with things as they happen. He's just kind of there, but he is a great professional. And the bulk of the movie in the introduction, it's maybe 30 minutes, I want to say. It was a little hard for me to judge. I was wearing Preston at the time and rocking him down as he slept. So the amount of time, I'm not entirely sure, but it opens with him laying on a bed, staring up. He's just waiting. And then he starts building his alibi, piece by piece, brick by brick, making it as airtight as possible. But the reason why I felt like I'd seen the movie before is evidently Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai, is heavily influenced by this film. And that's not a secret. It was to me, or at least if I'd read that previously. Ghost Dog was given a wonderful restoration by Criterion. If it had mentioned this, it's been so long I clearly forgot. But there are story beats, there are moments, there are turns and twists that Ghost Dog does. They just do it in a very different way, in a way that is authentic to that character and that character's experience as former military, which I believe gets brought up in the story. This, we don't know anything about this guy. We don't know anything at all. It's intriguing and it's interesting, and it is honestly unexpected in a number of ways, particularly because De Leon plays Costello so tight. So we don't get much from him in terms of how he feels about things, other than we made a deal, you broke the deal, now I got to deal with the fact that you did this shit.
Right.
But it's very matter of fact. He is a professional. So he doesn't kill unless he has to kill. He doesn't threaten unless he has to threaten. And honestly, he's the kind of dude where the character is played in such a way where if a look will do the job, that's all I'm going to do. And it ends up being quite compelling to see how it plays out. And there's definitely hints of a larger world at play, though we don't get much of a taste for it. It's satisfying and it's interesting. This one, Colossal, by the way, which wasn't mentioned, available on Blu-ray, DVD, digital. You can rent it. Les Samurai, I watched through HBO Max.
Yep, yeah, they got a good chunk of Criterion movies.
I wasn't sure if this was Criterion or not. It apparently is.
I have the Criterion down here.
Oh, there you go. And according to Letterboxd, you can rent or buy it on iTunes, Amazon, and some other services. It is worth the watch if you like crime drama. I would definitely recommend it. It was unique to me for a number of ways, but this is one of the biggest reasons why it's important to watch films prior to your birth or prior to when you yourself started getting into film. Because, for example, if not for you challenging me to watch Rafifi, I never would have seen one of the greatest heist movies of all time. And Le Samurai, while I couldn't get as invested in it because of Ghost Dog, because I love Ghost Dog so much, and how much of it, not so much cribbed, but was certainly influenced, that I couldn't separate the two, being like, I think I've seen this, so I couldn't really engage with it. But in seeing how they did this, there's some beauty and some impressive direction and staging, some great one shots, just some tracking on the stages that you don't see a lot of that kind of work today. And so it sort of helps you appreciate what we did, and in a weird way, the laziness that you'll sort of see in some productions now, which is why I think for some folks, Steven Spielberg's, thank you, I couldn't think of his name. Thank you, Brain. Steven Spielberg's direction in West Side Story was quite mesmerizing for some people, not just with the tracking shots, but with the way that the camera ebbs and flows up and down, keeping the momentum and movement in balance with the performers who themselves are moving. It's a dance, and you get that in Melville's Le Samurai. So, thank you for that. Thank you for the recommendation.
Likewise, sir. Likewise. That is a movie knocked off my neon to watch list. Done and done. All right, I think that is it for episode 65 of Cinnamon Man.
I'm sorry, which one?
Episode 65. You got any parting words there, sir?
Nothing too exciting. Be safe out there. If this drops before Doctor Strange does, it's the Wild Wild West on the internet. Be safe out there.
It's the Wild Wild West. Wear protection while you're surfing Twitter out there, everybody.
just naked gun, full body condom that shit. Make it so you can't see anything. Just scroll without knowing what you're scrolling.
You just scroll without knowing. Just swipe your thumb recklessly up. It's all a blur. That's what you want.
But you're wearing a condom, so it's safe.
There you go.
Do it with abandon. But
that's it for episode 65. We'll be back here a couple weeks, hopefully. Keep this train on rolling right here on the Cinnamon. Until then, you all take it easy and have a good one.
Cinnamon. Bye.